Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Near Calendars franchise mode here in NHL 25. So in last episode, if you did not catch it, we had the trade deadline and simulated the rest of the season. And we finished the season off 54, 22, and 6, which is pretty damn awesome. And now what's kind of interesting about us going into the playoffs this year is we aren't pretty much dominant in everything, which is kind of weird because a lot of the times when we've made the playoffs in the past, we've been pretty dominant in a lot of areas, but you could see we were second in goals for. Everything else was kind of a little bit more average or below average. So I don't know if that means that we're going to have a better time this postseason or not. So I'm hoping that maybe this is the year that this team could finally get it done. Now we are going to be taking on Columbus in the first round of the playoffs, who went 44, 34, and 4. So there is a chance maybe we could get cheesed, which is a little bit scary. Now they do have some former players of ours as well, so that's also a little bit scary. But I think our team might be able to put it together this year potentially if we could get some good goaltending results from Solovyov. Like I said, our goals against per game was 16th, which isn't really the best in the world, but it isn't the worst either. But the goaltenders definitely had a tough time for us this season, and I don't really know why. As you can see, Solovyov posted an 895, which I believe is almost like a career low for him at this point. Because if we go through his entire NHL career with us so far up to this point, you can see actually his rookie season, I guess, as a backup, he posted an 891. He was posting 890s early on here, but those were years we weren't making the playoffs. Every year that we've made the playoffs, though, he's been usually posting above a 900, maybe not that year in 2035-36, which was actually the year we got to the Cup Finals. Oh, interesting. I didn't even think of that. Apparently, the last time he posted below a 900 save percentage, we actually went far in the playoffs. So that could be a very telling thing for us, potentially. If he has like a mid-regular season, he might have a really good playoffs and get us a cup. If he has a good regular season and good playoffs, we might be knocked out earlier. So let's hope that maybe he could get to that Cup Finals again like he did for us back in 2035-36. Even though he wasn't really good that year, he was actually better that year than he was, though, this season, which is kind of insane. So, yeah, I'm hoping for some good goaltending results from him in the postseason a little bit. If not, obviously, we do have the youngster in Alexei Komatov, who could get a potential chance to start in some playoff games, because Solovyov is in his last year here, likely, before we let him go to free agency, just because he's going to be dropping off, and we have other goalies to potentially run. So I'm excited to see what this team could do this postseason. I'm a little bit nervous as well, of course, because of the last few years, but I'm hoping that this is the year the team could finally put it together, like I was mentioning. Now, one thing that we did do in the last episode is we also did do a little bit of an upgrade on our fourth line, which was a nice little trade for us. We decided to bring in Shen from the San Jose Sharks, just to basically help out with the defensive play on that fourth line. And he was a really good little addition. 9 points in 21 games, so actually did some stuff offensively too. Was a +3. Also brought some pretty solid defensive results, like his takeaways were better than his giveaways, that type of thing. So I'm hoping that this guy continues to be a pretty decent player for us on that fourth line. He's never played an NHL playoff game before, so it should be interesting to see what he could do in postseason hockey. But look at those defensive awarenesses and stuff like that. Like, he should be a pretty good defensive forward for us on that fourth line, and hopefully helping us to potentially get ourselves a Stanley Cup this season. So anyways, with that said, let's get in your guys' comments, see what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we'll show you guys what the Blue Jackets look like again, just in case you forgot, and then we'll get into this first round matchup. So the first comment is from Michael Dose, who says, "Great call on Shen. It's details like this that may not seem important, but they could win you a playoff series." And yeah, that is definitely true, because that fourth line was a little bit kind of more offensively minded earlier in the season. We made a couple changes to it, obviously, to make it a bit more defensive. Obviously, still having Dempsey down there is not necessarily an ideal thing, but Dempsey at some point might be more of a third line guy for us if we decide to part ways with some people. And I forgot about that there was an injury at the end of the season. Seal Fido will actually be missing game 1. I completely forgot about that, so it's actually good we went to the lines, but maybe we'll move Dempsey into that spot since Dempsey is an offensive player. Let's put Dempsey onto that top line for that game. Russell could go down to fourth line center, and that's probably what we'll do for the start of the playoffs, and then we'll obviously flip-flop that once Seal Fido returns, because he did get injured right near the end of the season. We'll probably let him miss 1 game only, and then he should be back to full health for the next game. And the last fellow comment is from Sanataku, who says, "The Shen acquisition worked out better than expected. You probably could let Tatar walk this offseason and move Schaefer to the top pairing, putting Houghton on his offside you don't have a prospect, you should be able to find a right-handed defenseman for the top 6 in free agency. And yeah, Schaefer is pretty much listed as a top 2 now at this point, so we probably could let go of Tatar in the offseason, which kind of sucks because I really like Tatar. He's been a very good acquisition from whatever trade we made, I think, back in the day. I don't even remember what we gave up to get this guy, but he's been a consistent, great offensive player, also great defensive player. Like, he was only minus when we brought him in the first year. I guess it must have been from Montreal. I don't remember if I signed him as a free agent or if I traded for him, but yeah, in general, I've really liked how he's played good for us on this roster. He's a bit physical of a player. Like, if you look at last year's playoffs, he took 31 penalty minutes in 17 games. Year before that, 27 and 19. So maybe we're just getting into penalty trouble in the postseason, and that's the main reason why we've ended up losing some games in the playoffs as well. But yeah, we could probably let him go just because Schaefer is pretty much listed as a top 2 defenseman. So potentially next year, the top pairing would be him and Houghton, which should be interesting to see how that would do. But obviously, we're not focused on next season yet because we are focused on this year's playoff run. So let's show you guys what Columbus looks like again, just in case you forgot. But like I said, there's a couple former players on their roster that used to play with us. One was a longtime Islander, that being Pekka Nielakainen. He's playing on the top line with Woodworth, who was really good in goal scoring, and Jacobson. So got to watch out for Pekka Nielakainen. I don't know how he's been as good since he's left us. He's only been gone for less than 2 years, but 39 points with us in our last season with us, 21 goals. Then he jumps up to 54 points with 22 goals in LA, signs as a free agent in Columbus, and jumps up astronomically to 40 goals and 84 points. So a very big year for Nielakainen, and will be interesting to see what we could do against him. And then also another former player being Riley Healy, who was briefly here, was in one of our playoff runs a few years ago. We let him go because we didn't really have the roster space for him, but the last time he was in the playoffs was with our team, so going to be interesting going up against those guys. And then from a defensive standpoint, they do have former defenseman Cameron Rutter, who was briefly an Islander. Wasn't too long term, but he was an enforcer defenseman. Only 4 games with us, so he's been more of a Blue Jacket, but he's not really a huge offensive threat by any stretch. And then there's also Gustafsson too, which was with us last season when we were playing in the playoffs. So kind of interesting to see that there's that many former players that have joined the Columbus Blue Jackets. So hopefully we can find a way to beat them, and hopefully we do not get cheesed, because obviously we are the way better roster on paper. So with that said, let's get to the start of this first round and see if we could avoid the cheese and maybe go on a good run this year. Like I said, maybe because Solovyov had a below 900 save percentage this season, we could get back to a cup finals like we were the last time he did those type of numbers. So with that said, let's keep our team the same for the most part going into Game 1. Obviously, once Fido returns for Game 2, we'll get him back in. But for right now, obviously giving a big chance to Dempsey playing on that top line. So let's see if he could relish that opportunity. So here you go, Game 1 on home ice. We should have home ice for advantage for most of the playoffs because we were the best Eastern Conference team. First period, Game 1. 2-0 us. Good start. Good start. Schaefer opens the scoring only 55 seconds into the game, so good to see him on the board. It's nice always to see a defenseman scoring goals because it's nice to have almost like your offense come from both areas, like your defensive core contributing and also your offensive core. And then we get a power play goal a few minutes later from Ragnarsson, so a couple top guys. Shots are 17-5 in favor of us after the first period. Goddamn. So we completely dominate them in that first period. We're only up by a pair of goals, so that's a little bit scary. But we are definitely outplaying them quite a bit at this point in time. Can we keep this lead intact in the second period? Second period? Still 2-0. Okay, that's good. We are out shooting them 31-11. I'm kind of hoping that this is a pure domination of a series because we definitely were way better of a team during the regular season. But so far, so good. And so far, so good in terms of everything. Like, good goaltending so far. I mean, we haven't faced a lot of shots, I guess, for that matter. Good defensive play to only give up 11 shots for 2 periods. And we already have 31 shots of our own. We're up 2-0. So let's see if we can lock this game down in the third period and take Game 1. Let's see what happens. Come on, boys. Let's lock this game down. Power play for us. It's a long one, but we do not score on it. And then Kuhlman pulls the Blue Jackets within one as he beats Solovyov. And then we answer right back, though. It's Holmstrom beating Chimera. Sounds like a 2000s roster build. Holmstrom makes it 3-1. That's a big goal from Holmstrom, another defenseman. And that is not it yet. Woodworth pulls the Blue Jackets within one, but that goal from Holmstrom ends up being the game-winning goal. So despite us outshooting him 43-21, not a strong game for Solovyov, really, at least in that third period. They did get 10 shots, which is pretty much double what they got in the first two periods, but still, we shouldn't have only won that game by a goal if we outshot them by that much. So their goaltender definitely gave them a chance, which is a bit scary. So hopefully he's a lot worse in their next game. But at least we got the win in game one, so I'm not going to complain too much. So Schaefer from Bigris and Giordano, Regnerson from Ashton and Holmstrom, and then Holmstrom from Russell and Carlton. So Russell, who was a fourth line addition this season, he picks up an assist in his first playoff game with us. And then Ashton, who was a trade acquisition in the offseason for Bjorkstrand, picks up an assist in his first game with us as well. Not too bad. Let's see. Any good plus minuses? Some plus ones and some minus ones. That's okay. And then goalie's 905 save percentage from Solovyov. I mean, it's not the worst save percentage. It's better than what he was posting during the regular season, but he's still off to a little bit of a weird start this year. And I don't really know if it's just his age catching up to him or what. But Holmstrom first star, 2 points. Regnerson second star. And Bigris the third star. So we take our first game. Hopefully we could have another strong game like that in next game. But hopefully we could score maybe some more goals than only 3. And hopefully we play a little bit better in net and don't give up more than 2 goals again. So Sealfito's back, which is good. So we will put Sealfito back in, and that means Russell's going to come out of the lineup, which is kind of unfortunate because he just picked up an assist. Maybe that's why he picked up a point, because he was on the power play or something like that. But Russell's going to come out, and that means obviously the Sealfito is going to come back in. And then we'll move Sealfito back to the top line right wing. Perfect. So Dempsey is going to be fourth line center, which is still a little bit questionable. Like I said, if Dempsey starts complaining a bit too much and also his face-offs don't really work out that well, if he's being bad in plus minus, obviously we could take him out and Russell could come back in. But Dempsey down the road, like probably as early as next season, probably should be in our top 9, which probably means letting go of Sealfito in the off season. So there's that. Having Sealfito back should be a nice little boost for our team. So I didn't even realize we had a lot of games against Columbus in the last month, even against them in the regular season. We won 2 of the last meetings by 1 goal in the regular season and the first one here in the playoffs as well. So there's been a lot of close games with them despite them being the lower kind of team in this playoff matchup. All right, so with that said, let's keep the team the exact same for game 2. Obviously, except for Sealfito draws into the lineup, Russell comes out. Let's see if we could take a 2-0 series lead headed to Columbus. Come on, boys. Let's take both these home games. First period, game number 2. 1-1, I'll take it. It's not as good as last game, but Kazanov opens the scoring again for us, so we've opened the scoring in back-to-back games. Levasseur ties it up. Shots are now in Columbus's favor in this game, 12-11, so they definitely are getting more chances than last game. Last game, I can't remember how much shots they had total. I think it was 21, right? Which means they're definitely coming out a little bit stronger in this game so far. Hopefully Solovyov is ready for them to get a lot more shots. Second period. 3-2 us. Okay, this is a scoreline from last game. Shen, who we brought in from the Sharks, makes it 2-1. That's nice to see. Woodworth then ties it up literally less than 10 seconds later, so that's pretty quick. And in less than 40 seconds later, I'll say, Mäkinen gives us back the lead. So 3 goals in the span of less than a minute. And we have a 3-2 lead going into the third with the shots 28-20. So a pretty good period for us. Obviously sucks that we gave up a goal smack dab in between these goals, but there's a lot of offense in short span right there, and then everybody didn't score afterwards. So the question is now, can we find a way to hold on to this lead in the third period, and can Solovyov stop a bit more pucks? Because right now I'm still not too sold on his play here this postseason. Let's see what happens. Third period underway. Come on, boys. Let's get that insurance marker. Let's get some insurance. Insurance would be nice at this point. And they tied up. It's Axelsson, of course, they tied up. Can we answer back? Yes, we can. Mishenko makes it 4-3 for the Islanders, and Houghton scores a power play goal to make it 5-3. Nice little answer after they tied it up. I was thinking it was maybe going to go to overtime after that. Penalty kill here late in the game. We killed it off, and we end up winning 5-3 in game 2, outshooting him 37-30. So that's a bit of a stronger game from Solovyov. Last game was 2 goals on 21 shots. This time it's 3 goals on 30 shots. So he's still allowing like around a goal every 10 shots this playoff run so far. But a nice little win there again for us on home ice. So we've taken a 2-0 series lead headed to Columbus. So in terms of goals, we have Kazanov from Mashenko and Ashton, Shen from Houghton. We have Makinen from Sealfido and Bigris, Mashenko from Kazanov and Ashton, and Houghton from Sealfido and Crane. So Sealfido picks up a couple assists in his first game back, which is awesome. And then a lot of the trade acquisitions have been doing good work for us. Like, even Mashenko and Kazanov are both trade acquisitions from the Frondale deal. Ashton was a trade acquisition from the Bjorkstrand deal. So it's really nice to see those guys that we trade for actually picking up points. So I like to see that a lot. And then in terms of the player stats here, that means a lot of guys on 2 points. Sealfido, Kazanov, Ashton, Houghton, and Mashenko. A couple guys on 1 point. And in terms of plus minus, the worst player on that game was Ragnarsson. He was -2 with no points. Hopefully he has a rebound game. He did score last game though, so I'm not going to complain really. 3 stars in this one, Mashenko, Houghton, and Kazanov. So like I said, the 2 Dallas Stars acquisitions that we brought in, and then of course our best defenseman in Houghton. Nice. All right. So we have a 2-0 series lead headed to Columbus. Now comes the question if we could win games on the road in Columbus as well. The team's never really had problems winning in the first round. It's always been once we get to round 3 that we've had issues. So far, we are doing as we should be doing, which is good. So let's keep the team the exact same for this game, even though it's been still a bit of a close series because we're only outscoring them 8-5. Let's keep it the same. See if we could take a 3-0 series lead on them. If not, if there's any big issues, maybe we could address it going to game 4. But right now, I've liked the way we've played. Just got to maybe get Solovyov to stop a few more pucks than normal. So let's get to game 3 in Columbus. See if we could take this 3-0 series lead and have a chance to eliminate them maybe in the next game. First period, game 3. Scoreless. Okay, I'll take that. I mean, it's not as good as the last 2 games where we've opened the scoring in these first 2 periods, but that's okay. Shots are 12-11 in favor of them, so they're outshooting us by a little bit. Still a pretty close game, though, in terms of chances and all that. So not a bad first period from Solovyov. Hopefully he has a good second period ahead of him as well. And hopefully we can find a way to get that game's first goal. Second period. 4-1 Islanders. What a dominant period from this team. That's probably the most dominant period we've had this postseason. Dempsey makes it 1-0. That's his first career playoff goal. Giordano scores 2 goals in the span of 2 minutes pretty much, which is huge. And then Tatar scores to make it 4-0. And then, of course, the former New York Islander, Pekka Nielakainen, breaks Solovyov shutout to make it a 4-1 game going into the third. Shots are 26-24 in favor of us, so it's pretty even in terms of chances, but we're up by 3 goals. If Nielakainen was still here, that would be kind of funny because then we'd be up 5-0 going into the third. But the 4-1 lead is still really nice. Let's see if we could lock this game down in the third period and take a 3-0 stranglehold. Come on, boys. We should be able to have this in the bag. Kazanov makes it 5-1 immediately to start the third as they have their backup goalie net in Moorer. So that's good news. We chased their starting goaltender. Still up 5-1. Penalty kill here. Nicely done, boys. Final few minutes of this third period. Looks like we're going to take that 3-0 series lead, which is awesome. And yes, that will be the case. We win 5-1, and that's definitely the best game Solovyov has played so far as well. He makes 33 of 34 saves, only allowing the 1 goal. That's definitely what I like to see from this team. So that's hopefully a good sign of things to come. Good defense, good goaltending, and offense as well. So Dempsey's first career playoff goal from Houghton. Then we had Giordano from Ragnarsson and Tatar, and then Tatar from Giordano and Houghton. So yeah, Gio with 3 straight points in that period. Tatar had multiple points, same with Ragnarsson. Good to see on those guys. And then Kazanov scores from Fisher and Tatar in that third period. So Tatar had a 3-point game. So Tatar is looking pretty good this postseason. Now he is a pending UFA, so maybe that's why. But 3 points and a +5 for Tatar. Giordano with 3 points. Houghton had 2 points and a +4. A lot of the same guys on the score sheet, which is cool. So, love to see that. There was some minus players, and it was just Holmstrom and Schaefer, but that's okay. And then goaltending, yeah, Solovyov definitely had his strongest game with a .971. First star of the game going to Giordano with the 3 points, Solovyov second star, and Tatar the third star. I'm kind of surprised that Tatar didn't get higher, but I guess it makes sense because Solovyov was really good, and then Giordano had more goals than assists, so I guess that makes some sense. But yeah, that was a really, really good game for our team. We got dominated on the face-off dot, but we still won that game. So now we're looking pretty good at this point when you think about it, because now we're 1 win away from going to the second round again. Hopefully we could get back to the conference finals again this year, and hopefully if we do get to the conference finals, we do not fall apart in the conference finals like we've done in the past. But we're now outscoring them by a score of, I guess, let's see, 13-6 through 3 games. So we're doubling them up at least, pretty much, which is good to see. So we're up 3-0. Any other series that are up 3-0? The Sharks are up 3-0 on the Preds, so Bjorkstrand might be getting eliminated in the first round, which is unfortunate for him. Chicago's up 2-1. Seattle's up 2-1. The Kings are up 2-1. A lot of 2-1 series. We're one of only 2 series that are up 3-0 right now, which is kind of surprising. Florida's up 2-1 on Toronto. If only that was real life, huh? Yeah, let's keep the rest of this team the same. We've been playing so good, we don't want to need to make any adjustments at this point. If we end up losing multiple games in a row, then obviously we'll make some adjustments, but for right now, we'll keep it the same. Can we pull off the sweep of the Blue Jackets and get ourselves to the second round and avoid that cheese? Let's see what happens. First period, game 4. 4-3 in the first period? Holy crap. Okay, well, this might be one of the crazier offensive games, unless it slows down the rest of the night, but Crane makes it 1-0 early on, 45 seconds in. Then we go to literally 6 minutes into the game. Rensfeldt makes it 1-1. Biggerston scores after that to make it 2-1. Kuhlman scores a couple minutes later to make it 2-2. Biggers makes it 3-2. Makinen makes it 4-2 on a power play goal. And then Kuhlman scores again to make it 4-3. They have 3 goals on 8 shots. We have 4 goals on 14 shots. So far, Solovyov cannot stop a single puck, really. Like, he's only made 5 saves in that first period. So I really hope that he finds himself in the second period like he did last game. But if he doesn't, this is definitely one of his worst playoff games in quite a while. So if the second period is going to be anything like the first, then we're in for like a 9-8 final or something like that. So can we find a way to not allow them to get any more goals in the second period and keep our lead intact? Second period, 4-4. They tied the game up. It's Jacobson on the power play. We have 4 goals on 23 shots. They have 4 goals on 16 shots. So I'm not really liking that they're scoring a goal every 4 shots right now. And we're scoring a goal, I guess, closer to 1 every 6 shots or something like that. I don't really know the math at this point. But we definitely need to find a way to not let them to come back in this one, because we've had the lead before. We were up 3-1 at one point. No, we were up 4-2 at one point. So we got to be careful here not to blow this game and allow them to potentially claw back in this series at all. So let's see what happens in the third period. See if we can get better goaltending from Solovyov if he's still net, and see if we could find a way to get that lead back. Come on, boys. It was a crazy first period, but we haven't scored since. So let's get her going. Let's get her going. Third period's underway, and can we find a way to get that 5th goal for our team? Come on, boys. I know we have that in us. We scored 5 goals last game. We could score 5 goals again in this game. Final few minutes here of the third period, still tied at 4. Final few minutes, and we're going to overtime in game 4 with the score 4-4. Now, what's crazy about this game is I thought it was going to be a crazy offensive game based on the first period, the fact that we were up 4-3, but since then it's been a very quiet game offensively for both teams. Like, they've only outscored us 1-0 in the last 2 periods. We're out shooting them quite badly, 33-19, so their goaltenders definitely had a better second and third period. It might be their backup goalie potentially too because of that first period, but so far Solovyov has been, I guess he's getting a little bit better since that first period, but still would like him to be a bit better if possible. So can we find a way to get that OT winner, or are we going to a game 5 back on home ice? Let's see what happens. Come on, boys. Get me that OT winner. I don't know who wants to, but can somebody score it for me? Penalty kill it in overtime. That's kind of scary. We killed it off. Nicely done, penalty killers. Love to see that. Penalty kill again. Stop taking penalties, please. Thank you. We killed that off too. So the ref's giving them a couple power plays, but we killed them both off, which is absolutely huge. And we are going to be going to double overtime with the score 4-4. So our team has not scored since the first period, which is kind of scary. Shots are now 44-31, so now Solovyov is kind of at least putting up some better numbers, unless it's the youngster and Komatov now, but I don't think so. So this is literally anybody's game. It's 4-4. Shots are 44-31 in Game 4. A lot of fours involved. It's one shot away potentially from winning the series. Just got to find a way to get it done. Who wants to be the hero for us in overtime? In double overtime, I should say, for that matter. Who do I want to call on this roster? Like, who is usually a clutch player? Who's usually a really clutch player? Let's go with Mäkinen, maybe to score the overtime winner. Yeah, I feel like Mäkinen of all people. So, let's see what happens. Double OT underway. Can we win this game? The answer is no, we cannot. We gave them another power play in double OT. They didn't score on it, but they scored afterwards. Kent Johnson has forced it to a Game 5, unfortunately. That's a tough one, because our team started off this game really hot and then just could not find a way to score another goal again afterwards. And we kind of gave them too many power plays near the end of that game as well, so that's not great. But it was a good first period, but afterwards we kind of fell off a bit. So Crane from Sealfedo and Mäkinen, Biggers from Giordano and Houghton, Biggers from Tatar and Ragnarsson, Mäkinen from Crane and Giordano. And then, of course, they scored late in that first period, and then they end up clawing back and winning it. That sucks, man. But the refs kind of gave us a lot of penalties. You could kind of say that they were maybe a little bit more going for the Blue Jackets in a way. Because, yeah, a lot of penalties. Savage had 3 minor penalties in that game. He took an elbowing, an interference, and he also took a hooking penalty. So I know that Savage is a grinder, but he needs to be a little bit more on the discipline side of things to help us out if possible. A lot of minus people in that game, especially Ragnarsson, Schaefer, Carlton. All right. But yeah, we definitely need a lot more discipline out of Savage. Like I said, 6 minutes of penalty minutes, and 2 of them came in an overtime situation. I don't really like that too much, so he's got to be a little bit careful, because if he continues to do that, he might be out of the lineup eventually. So, Kuhlman, Meyer, and Rensfeldt the 3 stars. Kind of surprised nobody for us got a 3-star a game, but I guess it makes sense. Let me take a look at the goaltending numbers from that game. So their backup wasn't even in net yet. Chimera just was really good after that first period against us. And then Solovyov was in for the entire game. Yep, 83 minutes, posting an 8:48. So, yeah, we now need a little bit better out of Solovyov too, if we want to have a chance to win the series, even though we're up 3-1 right now. That's kind of like a 180 though, because he was playing like average in the first 2 games. Third game he was really good, and in fourth game he was absolutely terrible. So we are going to keep the team the same, but if we lose this game, we definitely need to look into maybe making some adjustments, because this could be a reverse sweep potentially if they keep it up. So I'm a little bit scared that the Sharks actually pulled off the sweep against the Preds, because I feel like one of those teams that were up 3-0 would eventually collapse. It better not be us, because if it is us, I'm honestly not too sure what to do with this team anymore. But let's keep the team the exact same. See if we could win this game and get ourselves to that next round. Let's forget about what happened last game after the first period, and let's move on to this next game and see if we could close them out on our home ice. Come on, boys. First period, Game 5. 2-1 Blue Jackets. Woodworth opens the scoring. Couple minutes later, or 6 minutes later or so, Giordano makes it a 1-1 game. A minute later, though, Axelson scores to make it 2-1. And are out shooting us 15-10 so far. So that's not really on Solovyov that first period. We're just giving up a lot of shots. Like 15 shots against a period is not a way you can win games, really. So we got to be a bit better in terms of limiting our chances on goal. But we are still within this game. We're only within 1 goal. So let's see if we can find a way to tie this one up in going into the third potentially. Second period. 4-3 us. Okay, a nice little reverse in that period. Crane makes it a 2-2 game. Mashenko makes it a 3-2 game. Woodworth makes it 3-3. And then Giordano scores to make it 4-3. So nice power play goal there from Crane. Crane actually hadn't scored at all, I think, so far in the series, which is kind of surprising. But shots are 27-22 in favor of us. We're up by a goal. Can we hold them off for 20 more minutes and get ourselves to that second round? Let's see what happens. Third period. Come on, boys. Just get me some insurance and make me feel a little bit more safe here. Because one goal is not enough right now. Final 10 minutes, still up by 1 goal. This last game's pretty close as well, just like last game was. Power play for us late in the game. We do not score on it. Final few minutes. And we lock it down. We win 4-3, and we have taken this series in 5 games. So, despite the little hiccup last game, we end up winning in 5 games. We've won all 3 of our home games we've played in this postseason so far. Outshot them 36-27. And we ride that momentum from that nice second period into a victory. Nicely done. Gio from Bigris and Tatar. Then we had Crane from Sealfido and Holmstrom. Mishenko from Sealfido and Houghton. Giordano from Houghton and Ragnarsson. So a lot of the big guys stepped up in that game, which is great to see. So a lot of guys, a couple guys on 2 points, a couple guys on 1 point. No real crazy bad plus minuses. There's -1s, but that's not huge. And then goaltending, Solovyov only played 40 minutes, so apparently we had an empty net for the third period, or what? Like, I don't understand why the minutes kind of goes bonkers sometimes, but yeah, anyways, Solovyov was not very good in that game in 889. He's still been kind of weird this postseason, but we're still winning games, so I'm not going to complain too much. I'm just hoping that he could find himself eventually, because or else, if we go up against a really good team, we're going to be in a little bit of a problematic state if we have to try and outscore them every single night. But Gio gets the first star, Woodward the second star, and Sealfido the third star of the game. All right. So 5 games it takes to knock out the Blue Jackets, so we do not get cheesed, which is fantastic. I was thinking we might get reverse swept after that one, but we didn't. That's also good. Let's take a look at some stats here from that first round from our team. So let's sort this by forwards and then defense just to make it a bit easier. So Gio's on 8 points in 5 games. He's been really good this postseason so far. Love to see it. Because Gio in the past, I think, he's been an okay playoff performer. The 1 year, a couple years ago, he was really, really good. Last few years, he's been under point per game. But yeah, he's a decent, usually, playoff performer. He is over point per game, though, this year to start, which is nice. Bigris on 5 points in 5 games. Love to see it from Brian Bigris. Ragnarsson's on 5 points. Only a goal, but that's okay. Sealfido's on 5 assists in 4 games. Obviously, he missed game 1. Looks like, in general, we're just getting pretty good depth scoring. Like, I think this is exactly what we need from our roster. Like, we're even getting scoring from guys that usually don't play a lot. And Savage is a little bit on the worrisome side of things. He had 10 penalty minutes in 5 games this postseason. So we got to be a little bit more disciplined for Savage. But everybody else, pretty impressed with. From a defensive standpoint, Houghton's on 7 points in 5 games. Doing what he normally does, which is pick up points. Awesome. Tatar at 5 points in 5 games. These two guys are fantastic together. It kind of sucks that we might have to let go of Tatar this offseason for Schaefer. Because Schaefer was apparently really bad in that first round defensively. He did have a goal in 5 games, but he was -5. Which is kind of strange when you think about how much we outscored them by in the first 2 games. Or actually, we didn't outscore them by that much, I guess. It was game 3 we outscored them by a lot. But I don't know how he was a -5 in that first round. Holmstrom was only a -2, so... But every single defenseman had a point in that first round, which is awesome. But let me take a look at Schaefer's game logs here. So if we go through that series against Columbus, he had 2 points in game 1, was even 0. And then he was -1 there, -1 there. How is he a -5? Oh no, it's Holmstrom I was looking at. Oh, okay. I think it glitched out, maybe. Let's go to game logs. Okay, here we go. Yeah, it was Holmstrom that had the 2 points in game 1. I accidentally was on Holmstrom for no reason. But Schaefer, game 1 he had 1 goal. He was -1 still in that game. Then he was -1 the next 2 games. Then he was -2 in game 4. Even 0 in game 5. Yeah, I don't know what's with his defensive play here so far in the playoffs. But he's a 5-star defensive player. So I expect his plus-minus to hopefully improve eventually as we go on through these playoffs. And then from a goaltending perspective, Solovyov, I mean, a 4-0-1 record is great, but a .903 save percentage and a 2.77 goals against average, I mean, the save percentage is quite low. The goals against average is good. But this is his worst start to a playoffs in a while, I feel like, because usually he posts pretty good numbers. I guess this is one of his worst playoffs ever. I mean, this was definitely his worst in 2037, but he's usually been pretty good after that, so... We'll see. Maybe he'll have a better bounce back second round. If he doesn't, obviously, there's Komatov to potentially go to. So there's that. Now, the question I have is, who are we playing in round 2? Did it already get determined? It's the winner of the Rangers and Penguins, I guess, because it's right next to us. So we might be going up against Guerin again, which is not what we want to see, really. But Pittsburgh, I don't really know how good they are either, so they could be the Penguins. And the answer will be the Pittsburgh Penguins. I think we're going to be taking on Pittsburgh because they're right across from us. So we'll see if that's actually the case or not. And Florida and Toronto are going to Game 7, so will that get determined? So yeah, it is going to be Pittsburgh that we end up playing here in the second round. And it will be Montreal and Florida in the second round as well. Utah, San Jose, LA, and Vegas. The Pittsburgh Penguins. Oh, yeah, we literally looked at them recently because Teufel was there. Yeah, that's interesting because Teufel was a goalie prospect of ours that we never even signed, I'm pretty sure. I haven't looked back at the old episodes. I think I remember drafting him now because he was in Germany and stuff like that, but I don't really know if I just let him go or if I had him, like, signed and then I traded him before he debuted for the AHL team even. But yeah, the Pittsburgh Penguins were a team that we could have traded Bjorkstrand to, so I'm kind of glad we didn't trade him to Pittsburgh now because or else we would have had to play him here in the playoffs, so I think it made sense that we traded him to Nashville now because we don't have to run into him in the second round like we could have been doing right now. Now, I don't think we've ever played the Penguins in the playoffs before. If we did, it was like way back in the early days of this franchise mode, but it's definitely been a while if we actually have played them or not. So let's do a little comparison in the playoffs and regular season, see who is doing what for this team as well. We'll take a look at their roster and stuff too. But in terms of team stat comparison, let's actually just keep it on Eastern Conference. So they won the first round in 6 games. We won ours in 5. We were scoring more goals for per game than us, but they were scoring 3.33, which is still pretty good. Goals against were pretty close. We were better defensively than them by just a little bit. Man, I can barely talk because oh my goodness. So I had to just make a quick cut because I had the burp for some reason because of my multivitamin or something like that. But yeah, anyways, our power play was really good in that first run, 26.7%. Theirs was only 10%, so their special teams didn't do super well. I mean, their penalty kill was solid. Our penalty kill was way better, though. Huh. I don't know if that really means anything, no. What about regular season comparison? Because I don't know how good the Penguins were this season. So we are 14 points above them this season. They scored 3.33 goals for per game, just like they are in the playoffs currently. We were better offensively. They were better defensively than us this season. Interesting, okay. So we got to watch out for that. And then they were worse on the power play, which is kind of surprising because we were not that great on the power play. And their penalty kill was better. So they're a better defensive team. We're better offensively, apparently. So that's the difference right now, at least from the regular season. But we know regular season doesn't really matter when it comes to the playoffs. So there is that. Let's take a look at their lineup now, and then we'll take a look at their player stats as well to see who is a threat and who isn't. Who is a threat and who is not. Because maybe a low overall player is going to be good. So the Pittsburgh Penguins. This is their lineup. First line, Toni Eskalainen. They also have Jukka Pettinen. And then Matthias Eriksson, our former player, which I also forgot to mention. I guess we did take a look at the Penguins roster somewhat recently because a couple episodes ago we looked at the Penguins lineup and saw that they had some former players. Eriksson had 92 points this year, damn. Shout out to him. 6 points in 6 playoff games. I kind of missed this guy, but he was not fitting in too well with our team. Like, he was a third-line center for us for a while. We probably could have held on to him longer term. Like, he's only making $10 million right now, which is not bad, but is what it is. But that's a pretty solid top line. 2 Finns and a Swede, I'm guessing. Let's see. Eskalainen, Finnish, and a Swede. Nice. That's a cool top line. Second line has Avery Anstis. Or Anstis? Yeah, Anstis. This guy must be a real player, right? Yeah, he must be a real player. There's no way that's a generated name. Second line also has Hugo Dandino. I think I remember this dude from somewhere. And then there's also a former Islander, Joshua Legg. 5th round selection of ours. He had 61 points this season, 33 goals. Yeah, I kind of wish we could have held on to him longer term too, but we didn't. 5 goals in 6 playoff games this year. This is the first time the Penguins have made the playoffs since, I guess, ever? Wait, let me see. Who was originally drafted by the Penguins that's old on this roster? Actually, Eriksson's been there for a few years now at this point. He's been there since 2039. Oh, I guess they did make it last year. But Leg wasn't on the playing in the playoffs at that point. So, So the Penguins have only made the playoffs 2 times recently, I guess. I don't know. 3rd line, Dave Ferentz. They also have Nicholas Faith and Victor Waters. They are a bit of a younger team when you look at their roster on paper. Some older veterans, though. And the 4th line is Zach Benson, Graham Deming, and Calvin McElhaney. So Deming was drafted by the Penguins in 2039 as well. Yeah, they definitely haven't been as good the last few years. But, yeah, they're definitely a team that's on the uprise, I guess, in a way. Defensively, they have Dmitry Adanov, who was drafted 2nd overall not that long ago. Let me take a look at his playoff stats. Yeah, they've only made the playoffs like the last 2 years. So, that's interesting. He's playing next to Ilya Ivanov. So they literally have Dmitry Adanov, Ilya Ivanov. So, shout out to the alliterations, double alliterations. So, Jamal Barrett, and they also have Caleb Perry. They also have Salvador Morrison and Jalen Reese. So 3 solid defensemen. I think their defensive core is actually kind of underrated a little bit. And in their offensive core, in terms of depth, I mean, they have a really good top line. Second line is kind of a little bit weaker, but I mean, these guys are listed as second liners, and they do produce. So I think they're kind of an underrated team so far. And then from a goalie perspective, there's our former goalie prospect that I mentioned. Like I said, I think I do remember drafting him now because it said that he played in Germany. Like, I do think I remember having him as an unsigned prospect for a while. And then it looks like I must have just let him go, or I traded him. Do you guys remember if I traded him to Pittsburgh, or if I just decided to let him go? Because he's now been in Pittsburgh since 2035-36, and he's been their starter for most of that time period. So, had a really good regular season, and so far he's had a good playoffs too. And their backup goalie is Wesley Peros. Scratch, they have Rudy Cracknell, Jack Glenn, and William Eklund. And William Eklund we played recently in the playoffs as well, because he was on that Rangers team a few years ago that we played. But then he signed, I guess, with Washington in free agency and got dealt to Pittsburgh. So he hasn't played any playoff games so far this year. So a lot of former players on that Penguins team. A lot of former players. There's 1, 2... let's see. How much else did I say? 1, 2. There's more than that. Where did I say the other guys are? Goddamn, man. My brain's all scrambled for no reason now. Eriksson and Leg. And then I guess it's just the goaltender and Teufel. Yeah, it's just the 3 guys. Eriksson, Leg, and Teufel. Teufel obviously never played for an organization, but was a draft pick that maybe we should have held on to all these years. You never know. Maybe we should have held on to him, and Solovyov should have left all these years ago. I don't know. But let's take a look at their stats so far for the playoffs as well. And also, let's take a look at their player stats from the regular season too. Just so we can kind of like see which lines seem like good for them. So, Eriksson obviously led the team in points. 92 points, 78 assists, 14 goals. Yeah, he's definitely more of a setup guy, which he was like that with us too. But Esklinen and Pettinen were also pretty solid, but not as good as him. Leg had 61 points, as we saw, 33 goals this year. Aside from that, it looks like they get pretty good depth scoring. And some of the plus minuses on this team is really good. Other plus minuses are pretty bad. At least Benson and Morrison, I should say. Goaltending wise during the season, both goalies posted respectable numbers. Not bad. And so far in this playoffs, let's see who's been doing the damage for the Penguins. So far at this point, it has been Leg leading away with 6 points. He's actually on a 4-way tie with Eriksson, Ansis, and Dandino. But so far, Leg has 5 goals, which leads the team. And then, of course, Eriksson's up there, too. But looks like they're still getting good depth scoring this postseason as well, for the most part. And then their goaltending numbers, still good numbers from Teufel. I'm a little bit scared. I feel like the Penguins are actually better than I anticipated them to be. 45, 27, and 10 during the season doesn't scream crazy good, but they have some good pieces. They simulate decently all around. Like, they don't simulate the craziest, they don't simulate the worst. They're definitely kind of an underrated roster. But winner will face either Montreal or Florida in the conference finals. Oh man, if we do get to the conference finals and we have to literally take on Montreal, that will literally be another year where we're going to have to take on a Canadian team in the conference finals. So I'm kind of hoping Florida beats Montreal and we have to face Florida. Because, yeah, we've had not a good luck in the postseason against Canadian teams when we get to the third round. So hopefully we can find ourselves past Pittsburgh and then past whoever's in that conference finals. I think LA has been good as of recent too, but Chicago got eliminated in the first round, which is kind of surprising because they did win the Stanley Cup last season, I'm pretty sure. So hopefully that makes us a favorite. Like, if we look actually at the standings from the regular season again here briefly, which of these teams are actually still alive in the playoffs? Nashville got eliminated in the first round as well. They won the President's Trophy. So we're technically the best team left. LA and Vegas are also right behind us. So these three teams are still available in the postseason. I don't remember if I said Seattle's in the playoffs or not still. The Rangers just got eliminated too by a lower seeded Penguins team. Montreal is still in the playoffs. So a lot of the top 10 teams are still in the postseason, but a couple of them got eliminated. Like Nashville getting eliminated already is pretty insane. So Nashville got swept by the Sharks, I said? I think that's what I said, because the Sharks were the 8th seed, I guess. Yeah, President's Trophy winners got swept in the first round. At least it wasn't us. At least it wasn't us. I feel bad for Bjorkstrand because he had a great season, but his team just got swept. So, shout to him. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of New York Islanders Franchise Mode. So in next episode, we're going to take it to round 2 against the Pittsburgh Penguins as we look to find a way to get past some former players again. Obviously, I think going against former players is kind of a fun thing sometimes, but it's also scary because they could get payback on you. But I feel like sometimes in order to win a Stanley Cup, you have to beat yourself, basically. And that might be the type of thing we need to do is knock out people like Leg and all that to get to the next round, like we knocked out Neil kind of in the first round. So hopefully we find a way to get 4 wins, and then hopefully we don't run into the Montreal Canadiens in the conference finals, just because I really don't want to go up against another Canadian team in the third round. So I think down below, and I'll see you guys next time.